Citizens speak out. Across the world, people continue risking their safety and even their lives in an effort to improve living conditions for themselves and future generations. Countries where demonstrations continue include Algeria, Argentina, Armenia, Australia, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Belgium, Bolivia, Brazil, Burkina Faso, Chile, China, Côte d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, Croatia, Djibouti, Egypt, France, Greece, Honduras, India, Indonesia, Iran, Iraq, Italy, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Malaysia, Mauritania, Morocco, North Korea, Oman, Pakistan, Palestine, Panama, Portugal, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Swaziland, Tunisia, Turkey, Turkish Cyprus, United Kingdom, United States, Venezuela, and Yemen.
Libyan state television reported on Sunday, March 20, that 48 people have lost their lives and 150 people were wounded in the airstrikes from the UN-sanctioned coalition forces. U.S. Vice Admiral Bill Gortney stated, however, that there are no signs of civilian casualties, as he also emphasized that the coalition forces are not targeting Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. U.S. Secretary of Defense Robert Gates meanwhile affirmed the importance of upholding the principle of the UN Security Council resolution, which is to disable Libyan air defense's capabilities to prevent new military attacks on Libyan citizens. As two countries that abstained from the UN Security Council vote, Russia and China expressed regret over the military actions resulting from the decision. The Russian Foreign Ministry calling for the US, France, and the UK to halt any attacks on non-military targets, such as those reported to have caused civilian casualties. Arab League Secretary General Moussa also criticized the UN-sanctioned airstrikes for causing civilian deaths, stating that the no-fly zone is to protect from fatalities rather than to cause them.
Affirming that the no-fly zone operations were meticulously planned to avoid civilian casualties. A British Foreign Office spokesperson said the government would continue to work with its Arab partners in enforcing the resolution for the good of the Libyan people. U.S. Secretary Gates added that, as informal leader of the operation, the U.S. is already in the process of transferring control to the coalition of countries helping enforce the no-fly zone, which currently includes Spain, Belgium, Denmark, and Qatar, in addition to France, the U.S., and the U.K. In response to a ceasefire announced by Libyan armed forces that was scheduled to begin at 9 p.m. on Sunday, a spokesperson for the office of British Prime Minister David Cameron stated that the no-fly zone resolution would remain in place until the actions of the Libyan government showed that the resolution was being truly honored. At the same time, numerous media reported that Libyan gunfire continued throughout the evening on Sunday. A diplomatic gesture was presented by Mohammed Sharif, a tribal official affiliated with the Libyan government, who invited the people of Tripoli to join in a symbolic march to Benghazi for peaceful reconciliation talks.
In Italy's Potenza, tens of thousands of people protested against organised crime and marched in honour of its victims' lives. The African Kingdom of Swaziland saw around 7,000 people marching peacefully for better wage opportunities as well as political reform. The event remained peaceful and was followed by an announcement from the Prime Minister that the Defence Minister was being removed from office.
In Yemen, photojournalist Jamal al-Sharabi of the newspaper Al-Masdar lost his life covering protests on Friday, while a second journalist was reported as having been wounded. Yemen's state news agency reported Saturday the government had expelled two journalists from the news agency Al Jazeera. Human Rights Minister Huda al-Ban and Ambassador to the UN, Abdallah al-Said, both resigned in protest of the violence that most recently resulted in over 50 people being killed during a demonstration. Meanwhile, tribal coalition leader Sheikh Sadiq al-Ahmar released a statement signed by several religious leaders calling for the nation's president to step down peacefully in accordance with the will of the people.
After police in Gaza, Palestine, approached yet another media member, taking his materials and equipment and then breaking the hand of a Reuters news agency cameraman filming demonstrations calling for national reunification. A delegation of journalists met with Palestinian Interior Minister Fatih Hamad and government press officers. Hamas party spokesperson Sami Abu Zuhri released a statement saying that aggression against journalists was unacceptable, as it issued a call for government investigation of the incidents, along with future assurances that journalists would be allowed to report freely.
Syrian security forces acting against protesters sealed off the southern town of Daraa Saturday and used tear gas canisters to disperse thousands of people who had come to mourn colleagues who had lost their lives during the previous Day of Dignity's protests. Tribal groups representing the southern region demanded the departure of the government troops and the release of all those arrested.
In spite of a Saudi ban on protests, as well as being outnumbered by police, a few dozen people gathered once again outside the Interior Ministry in Riyadh on Sunday, calling for the release of relatives who have been detained without trial by the government. In Bahrain, King Hamad announced his intention to continue reforms as members of the protest movement renewed their commitment to peaceful pro-democracy demonstrations despite of the government's demolition of Pearl Square, a national landmark and a focal point of protests. Thousands of people in Bahrain gathered to mourn the death of Issa Radi, a protester who had gone missing last week when government personnel attacked during a demonstration. His body was returned to his family with signs of severe abuse as one of approximately 100 people who went missing at that time.
Our sorrow for the loss of fellow humans as we pray that the conflict cease, wishing peace and protection for all lives, and that harmony may reign within and among all nations.
Only love can convert people. Only love can touch people's heart. Unconditional love, brotherly help will touch people's heart. Where do the terrorists come from? Where do the resistance come from? Because people are in want. And the more we frighten them, corner them, the more they resist. Yes? In Vietnam, we say, even the earthworm, if you step on him, his head would turn around against you. This means that even harmless people, sometimes if they are cornered, they will become more aggressive, more resistant. Yes. And sometimes in anger, people do all kinds of things which they themselves may also regret. We have to stop the killing of animals and of course of our own people at any cost. Because killing will beget killing again and again. And heaven is not pleased when we treat each other or treat the animals or any lesser being in an unmerciful way. If we want mercy, we have to be merciful. If we want a bright future, we have to offer that to others.